Well, thank you everybody for coming to our 2026 virtual family reunion for the Taylor Family Association. We're excited to see everybody come in. And thank you so much for joining. My name is Christian. I'm the webmaster and assistant to the database. And I'll kind of be working alongside Roger, kind of facilitating our virtual family reunion today. Um, just a quick reminder, if you could keep yourselves muted, we will have points throughout the virtual reunion where we are asking for participation, and then that's when you can go ahead and unmute at that time. But then if as we kind of go back to our other presentations, just a reminder to mute after that. We do encourage you to have your cameras on. We like to see your guys' smiling faces. However, if you do not want to have your cameras on, you can go ahead and click the camera option down on the bottom of your screen, and that will turn off your camera. There is a point in the virtual family reunion. We always do like to do a group photo with everybody. So we do ask at that time if you can turn on your cameras, just so that way we can see everybody. Okay, before we get started with going over the agenda, I do always like to kind of see where everybody's at. So if you want to put in the chat where you guys are from, where you guys are located at, that way we can kind of get an idea. So I'll kind of go ahead and get started. So I'm here in Eagle Mountain, Utah, um, and just kind of see where everybody's at. So if you want to put that in the chat, that would be awesome. So that way we can see where everybody's coming in from. I see some Utah, some Idaho, some Arizona, some Rio Vista, California.
Somebody was
Oh,
from
wow.
Oklahoma.
From Canada? Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Texas.
Texas? Awesome. From Denver and
They're
Utah.
Texas. We got a couple
Yeah.
from Texas. Maryland.
Awesome. Maryland? Wow. Okay, awesome. So great to see so many people from across the US and even into Canada.
I don't know if the Petersons are on. I'm just looking here, but they registered, but they're on vacation. So they said they might jump on from Ireland. So we actually
That's
might
right.
get
We might
across
get
the
an
pond.
yeah, across the pond. That's exciting. All right. Well, that's exciting to see. Some more Utah people. Awesome. Okay. All right. So our agenda kind of for the reunion, the first thing that we'll have is a welcome message from our president, Roger Russell. And then we will have a presentation from Debra Tangren of where did we come from, kind of giving some more context of where some of our Taylor family settled. We will have an area for association update where we'll hear from Gordon, myself, and Mike. Gordon is our vice president of descendancy, and Mike is our vice president of membership. Then we'll have an interactive engagement break where we'll kind of just have some participation with you guys, ask some questions, and kind of get some just to get to hear from you guys a little bit.
I can
And
put
then
my
we'll
earbuds in.
and then we will have our one of our keynote speakers, Mark Taylor, that we'll be hearing from. Then we'll have an area of kind of some more discussion for presentations and participation. And then we'll have our keynote speaker, Gordon Taylor. Then we'll have our second engagement break where we're kind of get to hear from you guys a little bit more. And then we'll have towards the closing portion of our end, we'll have some stuff looking ahead of some things that we are going to be working on for the next end of this year into the next year. And then we'll have our closing thoughts and some recognition from our president as well. So first up, we'll go ahead and hear from Roger Russell, our president, and his welcome message that he has to us.
Thank you, Christian. And this is kind of exciting to have this 2026 virtual reunion. I'm Roger Taylor Russell. Taylor's my middle name, and I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to welcome all of you. Family history is really, really important. Those of you that are on understand that. That's why you're here. And as we learn and grow about understand more about our family, when we understand where we've been, then we better understand where we're going. And I appreciate each one of you for your work. We have a great Taylor Family Association, but that's it for now. Let me turn it over to who's next.
I think that's me.
Yep. So next we're going to hear from Debra Tangren. She's our newsletter editor, and she'll probably go a little bit more into about herself, but where she's going to do our presentation of where did we come from. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen, so that way you can start sharing yours.
Okay. I am Debra Tangren. I am on the board of the Taylor Family Association, and I am the newsletter editor and help Christian with the social media and website as well. So I felt like we needed to kind of go maybe step back in time a little bit to kind of get a breakdown of or an understanding of where we came from, where we settled here in America, and where our ancestry kind of starts here. I got to figure out how to change my slide. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so today I want to tell a travel story, but not just a story about places on a map. It's the story of why the Taylors moved. So between about 1750 and 1808, our Taylor family moved step by step from Norfolk County of Virginia to Coneto Creek in North Carolina, and then west through the Cumberland Gap to Richardsville, Kentucky. This was not just a random wandering, though. Each move was a smart and strategic response to changing opportunities, land access, and culture. When we look closely at the records, maps, and historical context, their choices then start to make sense, and we begin to see how our ancestors kept choosing to move forward when life became harder where they were. So, this travel story helps us to understand that these moves were connected and purposeful. The Taylors did not wander just aimlessly, they responded to the changing conditions around them. Land availability, social structure, and opportunity shifted over time, and the family adjusted accordingly. Migration is a form of decision making. It helps us remember that geography isn't just fixed. The land stays put, but the names and borders, people give it name changes. So follow along each step on the journey to see how the family's choice affected them. Our family's journey wasn't unusual for its time. Thousands of families in early America moved the same way, starting in older colonies, then heading south or west as the land became harder to get and the new places opened up. So the first big I'm going to give a general big picture here. This map shows the overall migration pattern from Virginia to North Carolina. That's the red line arrow, down to North Carolina, and then over westward to Kentucky. The Taylors followed a common American pattern of moving west as land and opportunity opened. And these three core ideas will reoccur throughout this presentation: land, labor, and independence. In colonial America, land ownership was closely tied to economic security and social standing. When land became scarce or inaccessible, families who wanted to remain independent often had little choice but to move. This is a long journey unfolding over decades, not just a single dramatic move. Each relocation will be examined in terms of what pushed the family out and what pulled them in. So, our colonial Virginia is where we're going to start. So, in our earliest Taylor ancestry, if our Taylor ancestry is truly Richard Taylor, which we are still trying to confirm and work on, he sailed to America on the True Love in 1635. He arrived very early before Virginia was fully settled, and in those years, families like the Taylors could do fairly well. This is probably what encouraged him to come. They could own land and farm it and reasonably hope that each generation might improve on the last. Early Taylors appear to have been part of the yeoman class, which is the independent land-owning farmers. So over time, however, Virginia changed. Leaders such as Sir William Berkeley was the colony governor. The colony became more stable and economically productive, but he was also very rigid, and it became a hierarchical kind of colony. Wealth and land concentrated in the hands of just a few then. Education was limited and literacy was uncommon among the poor people, and there were no schools available to help working families advance. So, if you were not born into that right social group, it became increasingly difficult to move up. By the time we reached Joseph Taylor Sr.'s generation, that earlier opportunity had largely disappeared. Land records suggest that Joseph Sr., his possible father Richard Taylor of the Western Branch, owned no land at all, nor did most of his neighbors. Families like the Taylors were working hard, but hard work alone was no longer enough. By the mid 1700s, leaving Virginia had become really the only path forward. So, North Carolina and the Revolutionary time period, this made moving a fresh start for the family. North Carolina offered something that Virginia no longer did. It had accessible land for ordinary families. When Joseph Taylor Sr. obtained a Granville land grant, the family moved to an area along Coneto Creek, now called Crisp Creek. This move allowed the Taylors to regain land owning status and re-enter that yeoman class again as independent farmers. This marked a turning point as the Taylors left Virginia for North Carolina. So their fresh start. The land itself was very far from perfect. Much of it was very swampy, and the creek that they lived by was not navigable for boats. The surrounding area was a shifting patchwork of counties whose boundaries changed repeatedly, even though the land they lived on stayed there and remained the same. But what this place offered mattered more than refinement. It offered water, timber, space, and opportunity. This region was known as Tarheel country, which are the backwoods land that wealthiest settlers didn't want. The Taylors were not gentry or wealthy planters at all, but they were working class yeoman farmers, likely producing tar and turpentine, known as navel stores, from all these abundant pine trees. And you can see some of them there. The nickname Tar Heel was probably quite literal, because tar is kind of sticky. Just as important as the land was the culture. This area followed what historians describe as borders to backwoods folkway, which was far from what we see in the movies about colonial Virginia and stuff. The Taylors were not expected to bow or scrape to social superiors, though. In North Carolina, Joseph Taylor and his neighbors were treated as equals, working alongside one another to build new lives. So then the Revolutionary War came, which this year we're celebrating 250 years of our independence. And our Taylors did actually participate in this. The Revolutionary War adds complexity to this Taylor story because two men share the same name. So we have Joseph Taylor, we call him Sr., and Joseph Taylor Jr. They both played different roles, and that's how we were able to kind of distinguish between the two. So Joseph Taylor Sr. is the father. He's the one who moved down from from Virginia with his family. He appears to have been a very cautious person in the early stages of the conflict. He attended meetings with his neighbors, probably, who were very uneasy about arming the rebellion, and there were a couple events that led to some of the beginning parts of the Revolutionary War. They're called the Gourd Patch Affair and the Llewellyn Conspiracy. And Llewellyn is a family name, and they were neighbors to the Taylors. While he was not a leader, that Joseph Taylor Sr. was not a leader in these movements, though, he was required to sign an oath of loyalty to the new nation and later supported the Patriot cause by contributing supplies. Joseph Taylor Jr., the son, was the soldier. He served as a private in the Revolutionary War, was probably wounded, and in his military service, and it is his military service, not his father's, that qualify all of the descendants from him for membership in the DAR and most likely the SAR. We have documentation that he's officially listed in the Daughters of American Revolution, but I don't think the Sons of Revolution. Earlier records sometimes confuse the two men, so we have to be very careful with the research. But these research that we've done and past contributors have clarified the two distinct roles. Understanding these can help us navigate a time that was very dangerous and divided and uncertain, contributing to the fight for independence in a different way. Okay, so the Revolutionary War happened, and this then opened up the westward movement. Fertile land was now open in Kentucky and Tennessee, and friends and relatives had already begun to settle there. For the Taylors, this was a familiar pattern. They'd already done this once before. So when access to land and opportunity happened, they moved and they moved with it. Oops, hold on. Let me go back. Okay, why the Taylors were drawn west. Sorry, go back one more. After the Revolutionary War, new opportunities opened the land west of the Appalachians. Fertile land in Kentucky and Tennessee became available to families seeking land ownership, independence, and economic stability, and to probably get out of that tar-infested swampland. Goals then became increasingly difficult to achieve in older settled regions. For the Taylors, these developments offered a familiar and promising path forward. The family's decision to move west was not sudden or restless. It followed a long-standing family pattern of relocating when opportunities shifted. Each earlier move from Virginia to North Carolina had been made in response to changing access to the land and improved prospects. Moving west continued that same logic, emphasizing continuity rather than disruption. This pattern also placed the Taylors within a much broader movement in early American history. Like thousands of other families, they participated in that westward expansion of the young nation, driven by the desire for land, self-sufficiency, and the chance to build stable communities. Their migration reflects both a deeply personal family story and a larger national trend that helped shape early American settlement. So to reach Kentucky, the Taylors had to travel through the Cumberland Gap. This was the main highway road. They called it the Wilderness Road during that time period. This was not just a secret or an experimental trail, though. By the time the Taylors had made this journey, nearly 300,000 travelers had already passed through this, making it one of the most important migration routes in the Western frontier. The path followed ancient buffalo and Native American trails, which were widened and formalized by Daniel Boone in 1775. The journey was very difficult. It was often muddy, steep, and dangerous, but it also was well known and carefully planned. Families knew what to expect and how to prepare. The route passed near what are today Kingsport, Tennessee, and Cross Plains, Tennessee, and the Taylors likely left the trail near the Big Barren River, continuing on towards Richardville in Warren County, Kentucky. Some of their children and perhaps grandchildren may have walked the same road, literally following in the footsteps of those who came before. So this is kind of shows a little bit of the roads at that time. After the Revolutionary War, the new opportunities opened the West and the Appalachians. Like I mentioned, fertile lands in Kentucky and Tennessee became available. The family's decision to move west was, oh, I already read this, I'm sorry. Okay, but I just wanted to show you the map there. Okay, so those are the black lines there are the roads at that time and the rivers. They used rivers to navigate and move as well. So they moved now and they're going to put down roots in Kentucky. So this happened about 1808, maybe a little bit before, around that time. Joseph Taylor and his family, his wife Sarah Bess Taylor, and a few of their kids who had already been born, moved then and settled in Richardsville, in Warren County, Kentucky, making this a turning point in the family's migration. This was not just speculation, though, or a temporary stop. The family settled near Richardsville, which is just north of Bowling Green in Warren County, Kentucky. Unlike earlier moves, this relocation resulted in a long-term settlement. Joseph Taylor Jr. and his wife Sarah Best built a cabin on a hill near reliable springs, such as Jake's Spring and Allen Taylor's Spring. They were named after the family members. Access to the clean water was essential for survival, food preservation, and daily life. And this is a photo of a cabin that is reported to be Joseph Taylor's. I don't believe it's standing in. Later maps, including these created by Nora Young Ferguson, confirm the location of the Taylor homestead and show how closely related families clustered together. And this is just only a portion of her map. So in a previous reunion pageant, some of the people who put together the reunion made this little pageant, and these are some of the actors that played Sarah and Joseph. And one of the uh, actors played Seraphy Temperance. She was one of their daughters. And so, using facts that they've accumulated, they put this little bit together, and it kind of describes a little bit about the creek that they lived by, Swan Creek. She said, our cabin, which father built of yellow poplar logs, stands on the hillside across from Swan Creek. We children loved playing down by the creek where we carried the cool water from the spring up to the cabin. In the year 1813, father signed the consent for me to marry Wiley Smart. 3 years later, Wiley and I, along with his parents and most of his brothers and sisters, moved to Illinois Prairie and settled in Madison County. There were so many of the Smart families settled in that area, it was called Smart's Prairie. When we made that move, I knew I would probably not ever see my mother and father again in my lifetime, and that actually happened. 3 years later, when her father died in March of 1819, her father's will said, I give my daughter to be Smart a good 2-year-old heifer and a small pot. Her mother, Sarah, remained there in Taylor Land in the cabin that father had built on the hill. She was not alone, though. She had quite a few of the sisters of Seraphy, and her brother Joseph also had stayed at home to help comfort their mother. In later years, mother's faithful servant, Jake Taylor, would be one to care for her. He would carry the water from Jake's spring where his cabin still stood, along with sundries up to help up the steep hill to the mother's cabin. So this is some recent pictures in just a couple years of the Richardsville Taylor land. This looks up through the pasture area and of some of the land that they settled. So the Taylor story is in Kentucky. That's where it's been anchored for since about the early 1800s there. Not just in migration and settlement, though, but in community, faith, and stewardship of the land itself. The places that the Taylors chose became centers of their daily life, memories, and belonging, many of which remain visible still today. The Taylor and Hudnall cemeteries preserve generations of family members, some marked and some unmarked, reminding us that not every life left a stone, but every life mattered. Joseph Taylor died in about 1819, and Sarah Bess Taylor remained on the land, supported by her children that were still at home, and Jake Taylor. He had been enslaved, but had later regained paid for his freedom. But he continued to stay faithful to the family and still take care of Sarah. Jake is also buried close by, and it is important to remember his life with clarity and respect as part of full history of the place. And there are signs showing kind of where to go for the Taylor Cemetery there. And here is the stone that was placed a while back in that cemetery.
Can we have copies of those pictures that, like the Taylor Cemetery and the
Yes,
Taylor?
and I have a lot more too, and there's some online too. But yes, I will definitely get some for you. Yep. So faith and community were closely entwined, especially with the early Taylor families there. They worshiped in frontier churches such as the Green River Church, which was a non-denominational meeting place built by pioneer families. And the Mount Zion Church of Christ up there, which was organized in 1852 and built from some of those still local yellow poplar trees that Joseph built his house out of. Unfortunately, both of these places did not survive, and both were destroyed by fire in about 2008. But these losses, though, remain as part of the history. It shows that history is fragile, and these places don't always survive. The Taylor land here in Kentucky, this landscape itself has been carefully tended over time. Family lands have been placed in soil bank conservation, allowing the ground to rest and recover. Now prairie grass and pollinator plants now grow where the farms once stood. Wildlife has returned and former enslaved lands have been identified and acknowledged. Cemeteries have been restored and marked, ensuring their names and stories are not lost. Although we're hoping to erect a memorial gravestone in the memory of the enslaved members, there's about 7 that we know of. of the Taylor family that are also buried in the Taylor graveyard. Preservation matters, documentation matters, and family associations matter. The land that the Taylors chose is still alive. It continues to tell our story of work and worship, of loss and care, and of generations who have shaped a place and were in turn shaped by it. What the Taylor story shows us, it can teach us things. It shows us that our ancestors were paying close attention. They left when opportunity closed. They moved when land opened. They chose action when equality and independence mattered. From Virginia to North Carolina to Kentucky, the Taylors made careful, thoughtful decisions again and again. They chose land over status, independence over rigid hierarchy, and community over comfort. They built cabins, churches, and communities. And in doing so, they left behind something lasting, a trail that we can still follow, a landscape that still speaks, and a story that still holds together when we test it against the records, maps, and history. This was not wandering, it was not restlessness, it was wisdom, passed on from one generation to the next. And because they chose wisely, we are here today, still telling their story, still walking in their footsteps, and still learning from the paths that they chose. And that is all.
Great. Thank you so much, Deborah. We really appreciate all of your information that you provided. We're next going to have a group photo for everybody in the reunion. So, oh my gosh, we have so many people. We have 2 pages. So I will go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and take 2 different screenshots. And then this will be available on our website if you guys want to take a look at yourselves.
And turn
But
cameras.
yeah, turn on your cameras if you're able to. And then I'll go ahead. What I'll do is just count down 3, 2, 1 for the screenshot. And then I'll do it again for the second page. So all right. Now 3, 2, 1. There we go. Okay, perfect. And then let me just save that. Okay. And then second page, we'll get you guys. Okay, and 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right. Thank you guys so much for that. Okay. Now next part that we're going to have is going to be hearing from Gordon Taylor for our preservation efforts. Gordon, if you want to go ahead and get your screen shared, we'll go ahead and get started with that part.
I'm just going to share a few thoughts. You'll hear from me later, but there's 2 primary objectives for the Taylor Family Association. One is gathering the history from the past, and the other is gathering the histories of the living. I liken it to gathering branches of the tree. And we have used that for a number of years to do that. And with that, as technology has evolved, we have used Legacy Family Tree as the vehicle. The Nancy is on the call. Nancy, can you give us how old size of the database currently? It's thousands.
Sure. Currently, we have 341,408 individuals, 138,872 families, and 6,001 sources to cover all those families and individuals.
Thank you, Nancy. That rings, those are primarily direct lines with spouses so we can connect to other trees and branches available to us. We appreciate all of you who share your family information through the Slice Manager program. And many of you may not know that this software is now free. So we can provide you what we know, and you can provide us what you know, and together we continue to grow the branches, not only the branches, but the information associated with why branches, as Debra so beautifully stated, moved and created communities of interest across the great America. And we're excited to be gathered these families in this celebration of the 250th year of independence. That's maybe all I should share with you at this point. We're excited about the changes that we're going to talk about today, about the growth and documentation of our lives and posterity. So I'll turn over Mike, Chris.
Yep.
I guess Mike is deck.
So let me go ahead. I'm going to just briefly talk about our website. Let me get to the next. There we go. Briefly just talk about our website and just making sure that everybody is aware of everything that we have on it. And how to get access to it. So everybody who is a member of the Taylor Family Association should have access to our website. Let me go ahead and I'm going to just end this for a moment. And that way I can bring this up. Okay. So this is our homepage of the Taylor Family Association. It takes a minute sometimes for it to load, just because it has a lot of stuff on the back end. Let me, 1 second. There we go. It might also just be my internet connection. So when you, come on. Let me just try it this way. Are you just stuck? Okay, well. So on the main page of, I'll just move on. On the main page is where we usually have information about our family, but then also updates that we have. There are some things that are available on the website that is not that everybody has access to, but there are some things that are behind what we call kind of our paywall for members of our association. So in order for you to log in, you do have to have a username and password. If you do not have or you don't remember your username and password and you are a member, please email me. It's just my first name at taylораssociation.org, and then we can get you a login. And apparently I typed in my password wrong. Or hold on. I think you need my full email. But I just wanted to take a moment and I think I just fat thumbed that. Hold on. And kind of show you guys what it looks like when you do log in. I know this login works. I just tried it. There we go. So this is our main page where you can kind of see our what's new and things that we are talking about on the association. And then when you're logged in, how you can tell is that it will have this profile area where it will talk about billing and your account information where you can change that. One of the important things that we wanted to talk about today, though, is our Taylor family tree and our database. So, like Nancy mentioned, we have a huge amount of people that are in our database, and we have this available for our members to use if they for research that they're doing or just to kind of confirm information. However, this website only contains people who have passed, who are deceased. So here in here you can search. My ancestor is Alan Taylor. So you can search Alan Taylor, and it will then search all of the people that we have in our database. And as you can see, there are 66 people. So there's a lot of people in our database. But when you click on them, let me see. I believe this is our guy. In here, you can see all of the information about Alan Taylor that we have. So all of his sources that we have that are connected to these, and you can see these sources here. Like Nancy mentioned, I can't remember the amount that she said, but we have a lot of sources in our database that people can use for their own research. And from here, you can connect to his ancestors, but also his descendants as well, and kind of trace it back down from there. So this is available for all of our members to use if they would like. And then also we have photos of these people as well that you can add in. And if you are ever wanting, if you see something in here that shows information that's different, you can send it to us and we can look over it and confirm that information. But I just wanted to just kind of highlight this again because this is something, we're very proud of our database that we have, and we want to make it available for everybody as well to utilize. So I just wanted to kind of go over those as well. And then we'll go ahead and take it. So I've gone over our website, and it's called the Next Generation, or TNG, is our family tree. So I've gone over that. So next we're going to go over kind of our membership and the value that we have. Like I mentioned, the website and the information that we have on that. And that's going to be going over by Mike Deal. So Mike, if you...
Okay, I think I'm there, and you've got my slide up. So good.
Yep.
Well, first off, thanks, Christian, for walking us through all of this this morning. It's been good so far, and we're excited to see what we have following me. I won't keep you very long. I do want to say it's good to see so many of you on the call. I know many of you, or at least I've contacted many of you, and you me over the years as we've put your membership in place. There are many of you who are on this call today who are members of the association. I recognize there's a handful who are not, and we're glad, absolutely glad you're here today. This was open to all of our Taylor family. Hopefully you found and heard so far some of the things that we do as an association. I wanted to just throw this slide up. I'm not going to read through all of this. There's plenty here you can kind of glance over. But this is really the purpose of the association. We're all Taylor cousins. We're all working on this great work together. There's been a lot of great individual work by many of you. Together, we really can tell the story in a better way. And so I hope that you find that the association is really set out to do that. As we collectively seek out our roots, I think we really help the living Taylor tree to flourish. And so we're very interested in that as well. We're all seeking our ancestor. We'd like to get across the Atlantic Ocean and find out what our connection is to England or wherever it might be. But a good part of the association is also about making sure that our living relations and those that come after us are gathered together as well. And we all know the stories. We're telling them accurately. We have a place where we can share those. And you can see the great work that an association does. As a matter of fact, as you've already heard from Gordon, you've heard a great presentation from Debra. Gordon and Mark will both be presenting later. you see the great value in what the association does for all of us. And so I hope you do find some value in that. When you pay your dues, which we've kept at $15 a year for quite some time, uh, those funds probably in years past would have gone in mainly to a paper copy of the Taylor Times newsletter. There was a lot of costs putting that together and sending it out through the mail. That primarily goes out digitally today. So fortunately, as an association, we've saved some costs there, but to the effort that you've seen Christian show, there are costs to the association associated with a domain, with a website, uh, with data security, with access to Zoom for the reunions that we have regularly, for the tools that we use to create even the newsletter today and publish that newsletter. So there are some costs that are associated with the work that we do. We appreciate those who are so generous in your donations. There are plenty that actually donate beyond the $15 a year dues, and we appreciate your efforts for that. It does go a long way to help us working together. Our demographics, our membership has remained fairly consistent year to year. If we glance around on this call, our demographic tends to lean towards a senior group of folks for the most part, and that's probably the case with most family associations. We appreciate the great work that they've done over the years and put together to the association. But one of our goals as an association really is also to increase our membership to our next generation and to the younger generation as they come forward. And to those of you who are in that category who are on the call today, thanks for being here. We appreciate you as well, and we hope that you'll find some value in the association as we move forward. And in fact, if you have any suggestions on what we can do, maybe we on an older generation, how do we tap into our youth and our younger generation? What would make the association interesting to them and of some value? We are on social media. We do things some the old-fashioned way, and we do hopefully some of the new things, and a little combination of both. But we'd love to hear from you at some point. Let us know what we might be able to do to improve the association and make it better for all of us. I just lastly want to say thanks again for your support, and I don't just mean in physical dollar donations. I mean your friendship, your participation, the research you bring to the table, and the help that you've made available to all of us. It's very valuable. If you ever have questions about membership, if you have challenges on the website, Christian threw his name out there. My name is out there as well. If you have any challenges getting something paid or whatever, please reach out. I'd love to help figure those things out for us. And we appreciate you being here today. Thank you. And I think I'll leave it at that, Christian.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. Um, we'll go ahead and move on to the next portion. Okay, so the next portion we have is going to be kind of an engagement portion. So what we're going to do is I'm going to break you guys out into breakout rooms where we'll just take a couple minutes, just about 5 minutes or so, to kind of answer this question that we had. We wanted to know, who or what introduced you to family history. So it's kind of what we were just wanting to talk about. So we'll talk about that for a moment. And then a portion of that also is just if someone would like to share or highlight one of theirs when we all come back, of how you got introduced to family history. Well, that's perfect. Well, hopefully you guys were able to have some to pick somebody to from your group to kind of just share some of the what their what got them introduced to it. So we can go ahead and start with the first group, room number one. I believe I did not write down who everybody was in there.
Well, let's have Bob Olson share about his vault. Okay. Bob, do you want to share about what your vault?
Well, this is a room in the basement of my parents' house that has become the repository for family history. We have all kinds of books and papers. A lot of them are old. A lot of the old long family group sheets and boxes. My father ran a grocery store, and we found that the boxes that the Frankfurters came in were just the right size for those group sheets. So we have those boxes stacked on shelves. We can call it the Wiener Wall, and not just of the group sheets, but all kinds of other records are in those boxes. So I'll grab a few and bring them to my house every few months and look through them. And we're trying to scan some of those. And I found in the Taylor box some interesting things and a while back. Anyway, so that's uh, kind of a little treasure we have there.
That's
Thank you.
beautiful. Thank you. What about from group two? Who was in group two? I believe, was it Mark? I think, were you leading that?
So I was in that group. Roger was too. We had a good discussion, and we had so much fun we forgot to designate somebody. So if you don't mind, I'll just make one point, and if somebody else has a comment they want to make, I'd say go for it.
Perfect.
The thing that struck me is virtually every one of us said that it was the women in our family, our mothers and grandmothers, who told us about the family and got us initially interested in it. I thought that was interesting.
Perfect. That's awesome. I completely agree. All right, what about group three? Was that Mike? I think that was you were the one that was leading that one.
Could be. I think it said a four, but I'll
Okay.
go with that group to begin with, just
Yeah.
because
Okay.
that we had Carlene in there, Mark Christensen, Bern Allred, and Ron Taylor. We probably also didn't designate anybody. It seems like across the four and five of us, family played a key role, just as Mark pointed out. Carlene talked about her great grandmother and her effort in writing histories and stories. I think as a group, we recognize that in many ways, it is the stories that you've heard that maybe first sparked some interest. And I think we also talked about how do we share those stories to make sure those stories get passed along to our kids, and who next is interested in family history, perhaps like we are today. I think we're curious about that and hoping that maybe those are some of the discussions we have today or in future reunions. What to do with what we've got and how do we interest others.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think actually, now that I think about it, I think it was Debra that was leading group three. Was that correct?
I don't know, it was 3 or 5 or
Yeah.
something.
we can swap numbers
Yeah.
one way or the other.
I really liked having there was 6 of us, and so it was perfect amount. We all had enough time. It seemed like we didn't designate anybody, one particular person, sorry, but some people had parents had written stories or grandparents had written stories and or did research, and that kind of helped spur them on. Some of them just wanted to learn more, not so much the research part, but learning the stories of other ancestors. And some were able to start digging into their family history while recovering from surgeries and or grandbabies or babies being born. And so during those times, they were able to kind of start getting interested in family history. So we got some Pleasant Green descendants and Amanda, the youngest. And so, yeah, it's pretty interesting to hear how everybody got interested. And again, we did start to talk a little bit about engaging the younger generations, but we didn't come up with any other ideas other than poking and prodding, which was what I've done today. So to get my kids on here. So yeah, we got to find some other nicer way to do it, I think.
Can I make a suggestion that I just thought of?
Oh, sure.
And Deborah, I was in your group, so I
Yeah.
can talk. So I just had an idea. I'm meeting with most of my children and their children today for Mother's Day, and I am going to take a couple of the family books that I have, some of which my mother put together, and just challenge them to come to my house. Let's start reading these. Let's start knowing who these people were, because they're your blood,
Yeah.
Yep. Perfect.
I really like that. Thank you. So from our group, we had Holly, who I really liked hearing about it. I didn't, maybe I knew, but I forgot that we had Canadian tailors, and so she's kind of that side of things. So I just wanted to kind of have Holly talk a little bit about what got her introduced into it. Oh, I think you may be muted.
Oh, thanks. I was just saying it's my mom that's the Taylor descendant, and it's myself as well. However, both my parents were very, very involved in family history, and of course, we're talking about the Taylor side. So my mom did a ton of, she's long, both my parents have passed away, but she's did a tremendous amount of research, and I was fortunate enough to inherit all of her genealogy books. So I have a whole wall downstairs of full of big binders of documents and photographs and whatnot, which I'm super excited about. But yeah, I've been interested in family history from very, very young because of I guess, the enthusiasm that both my parents have on genealogy. I'm a
Perfect.
descendant of John Taylor, and then John and Eleanor Burkett Taylor, and Hiram Taylor, and then they came to Canada and blah, 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 and so all the rest of them.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for that. And thank you everybody for sharing. I'll kind of just briefly mention my what got me into it. And it was from my grandmother. Like I think Gordon mentioned, it was kind of the females side of it. My mom, is the newsletter editor of the Taylors, and so between kind of both of them, it was from both sides of my family that really got me into it. One of them, I kind of share a funny story. My grandma on my dad's side of the family told me from a young age that I was part of the Donner Party. So our family migrated over, and they got to the point where they were kind of like, we should turn back. This isn't going well. And they went back. So they weren't part of the tragedy that happened with the Donner Party, but it happened right when I was learning about it. And so it was like very like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I'm part of history aspect of it. Come to find out, I have not found any evidence to suggest my family members were part of the Donner Party, but it still was kind of it was just cool to be for that time period part of history. Something that I kind of also just was thinking about as well. My generation, so I was born in the early mid 90s. We kind of just to kind of wrap this up, but so something to kind of keep in mind in this global world that we kind of live in, a big part of, I feel like, our generation is our identity and wanting to know where we came from and our roots. And sharing that with us kind of helps form our identity. And kind of knowing where we come from kind of helps with, like I believe someone said, knowing the past kind of helps with our future, kind of knowing where we came from. And we have some really great on our Taylor side, really strong people who did some really incredible things. And so I just thought that that was sharing those with us can also help our younger generations kind of form a portion of our identity. That was just something I just wanted to kind of think about. But we'll go ahead and move on to our next keynote speaker, which is going to be Mark, who's going to go over a little bit more about user trees. You may be thinking, what the heck is a user tree? But Mark will kind of be going over that in a little bit more detail. And so he can go ahead and I'll go ahead and move this over. I'll stop sharing my screen. And then that way Mark can go ahead and get his presentation started.
Should be coming up.
It's up, Mark.
Yep, I see it.
We can see it, just not in presentation mode, but we're fine. If that's how you want to.
No, I thought I had it all ready to come on.
Oh,
no, it's up.
If you click view up on the top tab,
Okay.
And
Okay.
that'll take you to presentation mode.
Yeah.
So you can see it now?
Yes, we can see it.
Let's see. I guess I don't care. I'm not seeing the full slide there. So
If you go to view on your PowerPoint, go to view, and then you should be able to see on the top white bar a presentation mode or present starting now or something like that.
I think it also says slideshow right there at the top. Doesn't that do it?
Slideshow, that should do it too.
I guess it's all hidden behind there. Okay. That didn't do it. Slideshow.
Down on the bottom, there's a slider. Next to the slider, there's a little point that you can, a little screen that you can click on that one too.
I had this set up to do another way, but it's not letting me.
Christian, is it possible for us to control the PowerPoint and we just let him know what slide we're on?
Yeah, I had this set up to go another way and it's not happening.
Let me see. Let me see if I can get control of that. Hold on one second. That's part of the problem.
Yeah, something went wrong. I don't know what.
I don't see that I can. Hold on.
Do you see your Mark? Do you see your presentation at all?
I can see it, but it won't move. Nothing will move on it.
You want to unshare and
I
then
see
just
your mouse.
Oh.
Your mouse just moved. Whatever you're doing, your mouse just moved on the screen.
Okay, so I signed on with Mark's computer and what's showing on the screen is my personal.
We see
iPad.
Mark's PowerPoint and Mark Taylor.
If you click on right arrow, will it advance the slides?
Yeah, your arrow keys. Do your arrow keys move if you click on your screen?
Yeah, so I think.
Do you want to send it to me and I can share my screen and you just walk us through? Don't do that.
Yeah, I guess I could send it to you.
Okay. Because I could see your mouse moving, so that was weird.
Yeah, so that's on a different computer than
Here
mine.
we go. Inside.
Okay, well, if you just want to email it to me, I can pull it up.
Sorry. We appreciate you guys' patience. Technology is always fun, right?
Okay, never mind. I won't do a PowerPoint. I will just talk.
Okay.
Okay.
So the PowerPoint would show you a picture of a family tree of our pedigree charts. And it's the way that we document our family history is with a pedigree chart. Family Search has probably the largest pedigree chart on the planet. The Family Search World Tree is huge. But because it's so huge and because anyone can use it and anyone can make changes on it, problems happen. So over the last few years, several of the large family organizations have lobbied with Family Search to develop a product where Family Search could have our information and have us control who can edit it. So in the backside, when this was being developed, we called it a closed edit tree. Since the Family Search accepted the challenge to create such a thing, and it's actually gone live, it is now called a user tree. So these user trees are what I'm going to talk about today and in the context of how it can make a difference for our Taylor family. One example that I like to talk to people about is Richard Taylor of Tidewater, Virginia. And you might think, well, that's interesting. The problem is there were probably a dozen Richard Taylors in Tidewater, Virginia in the 1600s. There are two that are very prominent. There's a Richard Taylor who lived in an area called Old Rappahannock County. And there was a Richard Taylor that lived along Julian's Creek in lower Norfolk County. They appear to have perhaps been about the same age, and they died in the same year. And because of those two facts, on Family Search, the main page that comes up for Richard Taylor from early Virginia actually merges those two families. Not completely, but in large part. So you've got a Richard, and it would take hundreds of hours to pull those apart because of all the incorrect mergers that have taken place. I counted them up one day, and there'd been 12 mergers into that one Richard Taylor. So there's a Richard Taylor from Old Rappahannock County. He was the son of James Taylor, who came from England in about 1635. So this family in Old Rappahannock County is also related to the Orange County Taylors. The Orange County Taylors include the Zachary Taylor family and others. I think there's 3 American presidents that come through this James Taylor line. He married a lady named Sarah. They had 3 children named Constance, Richard, and Simon. One year at RootsTech, I used the Relatives at RootsTech tool, and I found most of the Taylors who attended from the East Coast were actually descendants of Simon, and not from our family. Now, we've done DNA tests on both the Orange County family and the Rappahannock family, and our DNA is not at all alike. Richard Taylor, the Julian's Creek area, as near as we can tell, there's a good chance that he came as a teenager in 1635 from London. He eventually was able to acquire land in lower Norfolk County. He married Margaret Manning. They had 4 children that we can document, 5 children we can document through the wills of when the estate was probated, and there's a possibility of maybe one other. The problem is in Family Search, it shows these and others all merged into one family. Now, the Richard Taylor from Rappahannock County, he died in Essex County, Virginia, 100 miles or so away, and his will was probated there. And the Richard Taylor from Julian's Creek area, he died in lower Norfolk County, and his will was probated there. So they're clearly 2 different people. So we're not the only family that's had this problem. Because of this problem, and the various family organizations lobbying, they put together a program where under the old Family Search, there was a category called genealogies that you could upload your family tree to the genealogies. The problem is that you couldn't edit it and nobody could comment on it. It was just there as a resource. So they've quit using these genealogies, and they've created a way in which you can access, upload a family tree and designate who you want to be able to edit it. So within the discussions in our family organization, we have come up with the idea of approaching this in a way where we can document effectively for both the ancestry that I'm working on and the descendants that Gordon's working on. The approach that we've considered taking is first to finalize a 4-generation chart for the Richard Taylors that were along Julian's Creek in Virginia. There are 4 generations of them. The last generation that we track went to the Conedo Creek in North Carolina. This family was closely associated with several other families that made the same trip, that all came to this country as shipwrights. And the farmland that they acquired tended to not be cotton land, but to be land for naval stores, hardwoods and tar, just like as Deborah talked about earlier. And so the idea is to have a tree in this owner tree function at Family Search that would allow us to have a fully documented explanation for those first generations of Richard Taylors. In our discussions, we've talked about maybe having a limited number of people who can edit it. I would be involved, and then one or two others if they're interested in being involved in trying to complete the research and document these earliest generations. That includes using DNA and document search and everything we can think of. The second approach would be to create a tree starting with the youngest Richard Taylor that went to Coneto Creek and his brother Joseph Taylor, and create a tree for 3 generations starting with them, and have that identifies all the family lines that were into Kentucky. In Kentucky, several of the families stayed put. Several of them moved, some to Tennessee, some to Kentucky, some up into Illinois. But if we had this fellow developed, several of the family lines that stayed in the Kentucky area are active in our association. And so we could have several editors for this tree. And that would allow people to develop the part of the tree that they're the most interested in and have the most information about, and document. Some of these groups in Kentucky and Western Tennessee have an enormous amount of information about their part of the family. And it would be nice to get that fully documented and available for people. And then the last group would be to take Joseph Taylor's grandchildren and create a tree for each of those who had an interest in it. The William Taylor who went to Missouri had a number of children, and each one of those children, almost all of them, there's at least 12 of those children that have extensive families that came west to Utah and Idaho. And there's an immense amount of work that could be done with them. This gets into the area that would be involved more with Gordon's interest than my interest in the older history. There could be many editors on this. So that's kind of the church's identity, the family's approach on how to deal with this. I've got a bunch of slides on this PowerPoint that show how it works, the tools that are available, and how to create one. And I'm sorry about the technology, but we can put this PowerPoint on.
Yeah, I can put
one of our tools so that you can have access to it if this is something you're interested in. If you're interested in helping us develop this, I'd say that's the main reason for wanting to do this and explain it today, is to identify some people that would like to actively work to help develop this product. If you have an interest in that, I would say please send me or Gordon an email. Christian can set up a way for it so it's easy for you to get a message or Mike through the newsletter. If you look at the newsletter, Gordon and I both have email addresses on it. But the main message that I wanted to get out today is that this is an amazing tool that can be used to make our valid information, our valid research available to all the other people who use Family Search, and see if we can't eliminate so much of the confusion and mistake that gets built into the process because there aren't that many people that have the valid information. So that's our hope, is that we can get some more help to develop this product out. And again, I apologize for the technology not working, but that's the way it goes.
Mark, could you put a link to your slides in the chat?
I can put it up on the website, so that way everybody can have access to it, and then that way also Deborah can link it in the newsletter directly, so that way you guys can view that, because we do definitely want to get that information that Mark put together available for everybody. And
Christian,
something else.
hold on. We also mentioned maybe Mark doing a presentation in more
Yes.
detail after this one. So maybe we should just do first of all, his presentation and then more details later in another presentation. And we can set that up, Mark, right? We talked about that.
I can do anything you want anytime.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can definitely get that available.
Could I mention that we have built a Joseph Taylor, William's son, as a test of the William Taylor group. And I would love to have any of you who are interested to participate with us in that. I would call it the beta test of the user trees for the Taylor family's descendants, as Mark suggested. So thank you, Mark. Excellent thoughts.
Thank you. So yeah, I can put that up on the website. So that way we can have access, and then you can also reach out to Mark and Gordon if you're interested in those. So another portion of preservation and participation, we kind of wanted to have a little bit of an open discussion, just a quick 10, 15 minutes at the most, of kind of some questions that we had for you guys. And then we also wanted to just kind of briefly hear from Tim on some of the stuff that he's done. So one of the questions that we wanted to ask is, what do you guys, members of the association or not members of the association, but what do you need help with that we from the association can help you with? And then something else to kind of spark some discussion is, how can you guys with the resources you have help the association? Things like kind of just some thoughts is just like sharing photos and journals, whether it's indexing or reviewing records that we have, or even serving on a committee that we have. Tim, when we hear from him in a little bit, we'll kind of just show what he's helped, the research that he's done, and how it kind of helped the association a little bit. So I wanted to open this up to everybody who would like to participate on what do you guys need help from the association, but also kind of just to spark thoughts of what you guys can help with the association as well.
So I have a question that I think kind of maybe goes along with both. What do I need help from the association, and how maybe could I help as well? So I am not 100% sure exactly what the slicer part is, but from what I understand, it has to do with the descendancies. Is that right? Like adding the descendants of the Taylors? Is that correct?
Gordon can probably speak a little bit more to that, but yes,
Yes,
that's my understanding.
That is absolutely correct. The slicer management is focused on gathering the living, usually about 3 or 4 generations, one generation or 2 that are dead, and then coming down. And
so I have a question on that. How does that work? Like, I'm assuming that potentially I could contribute a lot of information, possibly, on living on my area of the Taylor descendancy, but I don't know how that works with privacy issues. Like, if we're doing it for the living, can I provide the information for all of my siblings and my cousins and my aunts and my uncles and all that kind of stuff that are living and not run into privacy issues?
Well, first of all, the Taylor Family Association database is private, and any person who contributes to a slice is required to sign a document that they will only use it for genealogical purposes. And we'll talk about in the next presentation that the Family Search is doing a similar thing. But we treat it very confidential, and we're estimate that we are missing about 40% of the descendants that we haven't documented. We know we will get a husband and wife and then no children, and we're very concerned about documenting that. A little clue for what we're going to talk about in a minute is why don't we document the living? Why do we have to have people die and then go find the records, the birth record, the marriage record, and so forth? Why? When they know it and they have it in their hand. That's the question.
So, like,
So
who,
we
like,
let me explain the process. Legacy Family Tree is free. We give you a slice of what we know to do you, and you add to it, and then it's a round robin. Every day, every year, births, deaths, marriages, occupations, residence, all kinds of events happen in the family. So it's a continuous process. That's why we call it a manager. It's an ongoing thing.
so then does everybody that's in the association have access to all that information then?
No, only
Okay.
the slicer, or the bylaws are written such if a person is doing a particular piece of genealogical research and needs to have access to other people, they can provide a proposal. We will evaluate it, and then confidentiality about what they can see.
Awesome.
Very tight.
And so that would be working with you and the database manager, which is Nancy. Nancy would be providing that slice, or Gordon, and then you'd be working with them very closely with issues that you may have while working with those. They can kind of help troubleshoot those, and then providing it so that they feed that back in. But we take privacy. We understand it's a big concern for everybody, and we want to acknowledge that and respect that, and we take that as a very, very high a high issue that we want to maintain. So thank you so much for providing, answering that, Holly, and then does anyone else have anything else that you guys need help with that we from the association can help with? Or maybe if you want to, serve on a committee or something like that. You don't also have to speak. You can, if you want to just reach out to us. I believe Debra posted all of our emails, so you can take that. It's also available on the newsletter, or you can reach out to us on social media as well.
I just had a quick question.
Mhm.
So, is there a Joseph Taylor book anywhere, and has that been thought of or planned to do?
I can respond to that. There are 3 volumes of the Joseph Taylor family. The first 2 volumes are available in Family Search. Go to books, and Sherry Frankie is the author, and they are been digitized. The 3rd volume is primarily concerned with William Taylor. I think that it has been digitized, but has not been made public. The books generally concluded in 1930. So there's likelihood that there could be some living in the books. the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is planning not only to digitize the books, but to make using AI so that you can go in and word search the volumes. And they're doing that over the next 2 years. We'll report how that's happening, but it is a good resource. Thank you. That's a good question.
Okay. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for asking that. And if I want to just make sure that we have time for everybody else, but also give time for Tim just to kind of give a little bit of his little talk that he wanted to give. So I'll give about like a minute or so, and then we can move on to Tim's portion.
I have a question, and I'm
Mhm.
not a tailor, but I'm married to my husband, whose mother was a tailor in the Joseph Taylor line. This is the first time we have ever seen anything about the Taylor group, family association. So give me a URL or something that we can kind of go and see what's going on. I mean, I see what's going on with you guys, but I just need a general place to go to find out more about your group.
I just put the website link in the chat, but it's taylораssociation.org. And that has
Okay.
Updated information about our reunions and has our contact information in there,
Okay.
as well as how to join.
Okay. My husband might be interested. He's
Okay.
been working. Thank you.
Also,
Yeah, thank you.
I just put in the chat also Sherry Frankie's email and phone number. She has book 3 still, as well as other people within the association that you can purchase a book 3 from. I'm sorry. I put that in the chat as well.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Kathy.
I have
Okay.
one question.
Mhm.
Has anyone figured out exactly how the Hodges line intertwined with the Taylors? I did a wide DNA test that has linked me up with a bunch of Hodges, and I'd heard it through our group years ago that somebody showed up with that name, and I was just wondering if anybody had fleshed that out a little.
Yes, we do know about that. So it turns out that we've done a whole large DNA study trying to figure out that issue. In the early days of DNA, we did maybe 30 or 40 people with the Taylor name. And that's the time when we figured out that the Zachary Taylor line and some of the others were not related to us. But we also discovered that there's a whole group of Hodges in this country that are related to us. If you go on a lot of the detailed genealogy sites, you'll find pages written up about that. But the bottom line is we've identified key people to get to do the most expensive of the DNA tests. Several of those have been done. There's still a couple we're hoping to get done. And it appears that sometime around 1635, somebody named Taylor and somebody named Hodges quit using the name that reflected their biological father and used the other name. The thing that's intriguing about this story is that there was a ship that left Gravesend, one of the port parts of London, in 1635 called the True Love. And it had a bunch of different groups of people on there. One was a group of somewhat juvenile delinquents that were organized by an institution in London that gathered up juvenile teenage boys and shipped them to the colonies. One of those boys was Roger Hodges. And on that same boat was another teenage boy that I've not been able to determine whether one of the Richard Taylors mentioned in that institution's records is the same as ours. I'm kind of skeptical, but for some reason, there was another teenage boy. There were some other Taylors on board that we've spent some time trying to pin down. But those two Taylors came to Bermuda and then found their way to Virginia. Both of them ended up buying large tracts of land by each other in the lower Norfolk County area around Julian's Creek. And were friends and family and intermarried each other's families for years. Roger Hodges and Richard Taylor married sisters in the Manning family. So there's a close connection of the two families. At this point, I have not been able to conclude which is the dominant line going back, whether we're really Hodges, who picked up the name Taylor in Virginia, or if this group of Hodges are really Taylors and they started using the Hodges name. That's not clear, but we've established the DNA lines for both, and there's just more testing that needs to be done to try to figure out the ultimate answer. But yeah, we figured out where the connection happened, about when it happened. We just don't know exactly how, and we don't know which is the dominant line. Any questions about that?
That's very clear, Mark. Thank you.
Yep. Perfect. Okay. If you guys haven't, oh, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
I was going to say, I do have another question as well. So the presentation that Debra gave at the beginning, is that going to be available on the association? Is there some way that we can access that information? That was awesome.
Yes.
All of the presentations will be put up on the website after the reunion. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. So that'll have like the words, like the speaking portion, as well as the photos and whatnot, pictures.
Yeah, so what will happen is after this, it will be the reunion itself will be put up on our YouTube channel, and then that will have those that you can then reference, and then also the presentations themselves.
Awesome, thank you.
Of course. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the time over to Tim just for a little bit before we move on to the next portion of our presentation.
Thank you very much. This is kind of shifting gears into another direction. My efforts and work has been to try to take the family history information and package it in a way that makes it appealing for a younger audience. A number of years ago, I did a series, my wife and I did a series of short presentations, basically short movies about the William Taylor family, so that it was something that a young person could basically click and just watch the movie. It has, pictures and background music and maps and things like that presented in a way that makes it kind of interesting. And those series of movies were put up several years ago. I think many of you have probably seen them, and they are still available. If you we can get more information about that. The William Taylor family is interesting because they moved from Kentucky to Missouri, and in Missouri they joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and from then on that family became very much part of that first generation of the church, and they had 14 children. This current project I'm just completing, I was going to try to do it as a audio-visual presentation, but because of the number of people and the length, it wasn't really realistic. So instead, I've tried to put it together as a short, concise book with illustrations and other things, so that it can be something that a family could have and share with children or with teenagers. I have just completed that particular book, and I'm in the process of getting it printed. And Gordon Taylor shared with me a source out there from a fellow named Jake Harmer that uses AI to produce some very high quality illustrations, as well as printing the books so that they're in a real affordable form. For example, a book like this would probably be less than $10 each. they have a package where the book is produced, and then, we have some copies, but then people can order their own copy of the book directly from the publisher for $10 or whatever. But also, the book and the contents are put out there online for free, and they link it with that particular family's family search memories section. So it is available for any of the descendants. So what I was just wanting to do is let you know this project on the 14 children, I've been able to finally get it done. It took me several years, but it's now in the process of being published. And I wanted to share it with the organization if they, so that you have access to it. So that's what I was trying to present. Now, I've worked with Gordon and with others. Now, questions can I answer for you?
Thank you, Tim.
Where will it be possible to get a copy of it?
Excuse me?
How will it be possible to get a copy of your book?
Well, what I'm doing is getting it published and sharing that information with the organization so it simply is out there. Anyone that would like one can download the book for free, and also they can get a printed copy if they want at a very reasonable cost.
Is the online version available yet?
Not yet, because the book has not been printed and completed. I'm just in that now. I was able to just recently finish the text part of it, but I've tried to carefully review it for accuracy and things like that. And I sent a copy of that book presentation to several of you for review.
Yeah, we did receive it, yes. And
Okay.
we're reviewing that right now.
And I welcome the review. I welcome the kind of comments. If there's some things that perhaps need to be edited on that, I don't have a problem with that. I just wanted to let you know that it's at the stage now that it's ready to be published.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll definitely get that to us, and then we'll make sure to put that in the newsletter and on the website as well, that information.
Now,
thank you, Tim. I've enjoyed what you've done in the past, and I encourage the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Tim mentioned the videos that he presented previously. Those are also on our YouTube channel. So if you'd like to look at those, you can just go to our YouTube channel and they've been presented. Tim's done an amazing job, and thank you so much, Tim, for all of the work that you've done. And if people out there are also wanting to, write portions of their story, or things like that, and want to have the association help with the process, of reviewing for accuracy, but also giving advice for publishing, you can always reach out to us. Thank you so much, Tim, for just kind of providing us with that information. I do want to move on just because I don't want to take up too much more of your guys' time. We do have Gordon's presentation of family group trees that we wanted to have. So I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Gordon. I'll stop sharing my screen so that way you can share yours.
Thank you. Can you see my screen?
There we go.
There we go.
I will be brief. The new family groups, it's a year and a half old with Family Search, is supported by the Taylor Family Association. Why the groups? It broadens the base of communication within families. Currently, there's limited visibility of the living. Only you can see the living in your direct line and not any of the cousins. And currently, when a person dies, if they haven't been, the memories haven't been tagged to the person, that's lost. It's in the ether of Family Search. This provides private groups that gather and share the living information, gathering data, documents, and elements of your living, and it will also link to Family Search, including memories the death of, and the group the family group stays on when one of the principals die. It's a private living family group and it's supported by Family Search. It's designed to communicate on a couple of levels. One is to temple ordinance cards or work in the temple. My sisters use it. And the other is to build personal genealogical family history now while you're living. It links to Family Search for the dead and when a person dies. It will provide the backup of life events from legacy family trees that you can move to Family Search that have genealogical value. The next 3 slides are part of the group information. It's going to be in the script.
Gordon, we're not
Yes.
seeing your slide presentation. I'm sorry. We just
So-
see enter meeting info like for Zoom.
So I think I just figured something out here. I don't know about your screens, but on the top of my screen, up in the upper left-hand corner, when you tap
Oh,
the
there we
screen,
go.
it had
Yep.
two screens were being shared. You had
Got
to
it.
change it, but that went away. So
I
you should be good.
apologize.
No, that's
We
fine.
got it pulled up now.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're now seeing improved family group trees. Yes.
Yes.
Chart.
Yep.
Okay, I want you to highlight just a couple of things in this chart. It's going to reduce duplications in merging, leaving people in trees, and it's a copy of information from your private lists of family groups. There's other information there. You can load all of the information that you usually put in sources in Family Search into the living. It shares the stories. You can document this birth certificates. It uses the hints from Family Search, and you can tag the photos. Photos of the living are kept private, not included. People cannot see this private group in Family Search. Only those persons who are a member of it. So the memories can be private. You can, and one of the functions you mentioned at the end is that you can pass ordinances inside the group. Okay. And it's still in beta. Its legacy family tree is going to have a capability similar to what we now have with the big tree, which you can pass information from Family Search to legacy and big legacy information to Family Search. The challenge is that legacy family tree can put a lot more information about your living and you can selectively put in the information of genealogical value into the person in Family Search. This is coming. The documents are still the programs are working, and I hope by the end later in this year, we can do a video conference for those of you who are interested. Now, things that you can do now. Create your own family groups. Talk together in their families, plan the organization, and guidelines in your content. The important thing is to make one or more people editors and you can share any temple work. Now, building the file building the file can come directly off a family legacy family tree of the information's there, or you can pull the information some of a from the family search. You cannot get the living out of family search. So, but you can pull it from legacy. So we're offering, if you would like to be involved with that, we can share what we have of the living information to you as you build uh, build a family group of cousins that can share the living. Think about legacy as your backup. As an IT guy, you always want a backup of the thing. Think of legacy as your backup. Now, what legacy does, it will document birth and marriage events of the family. It has capability of over 250 categories. Family search only uses 2 or 3, primarily occupation, education, and census for family search. Much beyond that you can capture, and the rich media, pictures, documents, sound, video, and web links. And we can share the little secret. Family search will not share video, but there's a way around it if you want to share that. And TFA, our organization, can provide research and guidance. Call or text if you're interested. It's a great family activity. You're sitting around with the family and gathers birth certificates, marriage certificates. For family reunions, gather the information while they're living so that we don't have to spend hours trying to find the dead. And when they die, the secret is there's 2 files: family search data and memories. And we can move the memories because they are not lost. They're there for you. The TFA organization has for years politics tried to have this capability in family search. It's 1.5 years old and still in beta, but you could do something now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gordon. And again, like we mentioned before, the slideshow that Gordon presented will be available on the website. And then if you have any other questions, you can always reach out to Gordon or any of us as well. So the next portion that we just wanted to kind of just briefly, if anybody would like to kind of go over anything that's kind of been going on in your family. We've talked a lot about our amazing Taylor relatives in the past. But we also want to recognize, like Gordon mentioned, the living as well. So if there's any like big, if you have a family member who's a Taylor that's turning 90 or any big anniversaries, we just kind of wanted to open this up and, just honor our present generations as well. If anyone would like to. By no means do you have to, though, if you don't want to. We just wanted to kind of open that back up for everybody. Okay. I do want to be cautious of time, but if you'd like to share in the chat, you can, of anything. We did want to move on to kind of looking ahead. So into the items for this year and for next year. For this year, we did want to just let you guys know that the newsletter will be out by late May. That will contain all of links for our presentations that we have today, as well as also to our YouTube channel. We also are planning to have a legacy presentation or training for a legacy family tree in November of 2026. And then also the user tree and the family group training. So what Mark and Gordon talked about today, we are wanting to do trainings for those. So just keep an eye out on our social media and the newsletters for when we do have those. And we'll also put those on the website as well of the dates of when we'll be doing that. So if you'd like to participate, you can. After our reunion, probably within the next week, there is going to be a post-reunion survey of just some questions, just so we can get comments and feedback from you guys on how we can make these better, and any topics that you'd like to have for next year, or topics that you'd like to learn about this year. Something else, a big thing that we want to talk about is our in-person reunion next year in June. It's going to be in the Harrisville, Utah. Keep an eye out in the newsletter for more information, but we just wanted to highlight that we are going to be doing an in-person reunion June 2027 in the Harrisville, northern Utah area, but anybody is welcome to come. That is just something that we are really excited to put together. We did one, I think it was last year or 2024. We did one in St. George, and that was a great turnout. We had a lot of fun. So we're very excited about this one in 2027. Okay. So last, kind of just getting towards the last closing remarks, wrapping our reunion up. We did want to just have Roger speak again about just some recognition for our speakers and board members. So I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Roger. Once I find him, I can go ahead and spotlight.
I'm right here.
There we are. Perfect.
Hey, we've been well fed. Thank you, everybody that's participated. Thank you for everybody that's been on quietly, just listening. The Taylor family is a great family. We've got great leaders. The board members are amazing. Appreciate what all of you do. We have lost Reed Brown, who served as the treasurer for the Taylor Family Association. Reed was a good guy. He had his PhD in civil engineering from Purdue, I believe it was. Look at my notes here. But he served a mission with his wife in London, England. Everybody loved Reed Brown. So we're sorry to announce his passing. Grateful for all of you, for all that you do. Again, thank you to those that have participated today. It takes all of us to make things work. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I was just notified by Deborah that she had one more slide that she wanted to kind of go over. So I'll toss it over to her, and then she can kind of go over, just talk a little bit more about some things that we can kind of do. So perfect.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of different things today, and so we wanted to put together a way for you guys or just to let you know some of the projects that we have going on and how you guys can help in with our organization and helping with that stuff. This will help shape the future of the Taylor Founders organization and keep it going and keeping it alive. So these are kind of important things. Whether you're brand new, casually curious, or deeply invested in family history, there's absolutely a place for you in our organization. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to care about family. And I think every one of you does care about your family. I can just tell from the things that we've talked about today. And that makes you qualified. So one of the things that we've talked about today, we may have not used this verbiage exactly, but becoming a legacy consultant is a way to, it's our biggest initiative, and it's a way to help keep our family story going. As someone who cares to be one, you need to be caring about your branch of the family, which I'm sure you all are. So the Joseph Taylor Jr. family, we have, this is where our database comes from. That means that you can do this through sharing your family stories that you've heard growing up and continuing them or writing them down, answering questions from cousins of your same branch, gathering photos, letters, and documents, and helping with like genealogy work or collaboration. This is not asking you to be perfect in any way. It's just about connecting with family on your branch. Another thing, we break, Gordon had mentioned this earlier, we break the family up into manageable branches, so no line gets lost, especially the really big ones like our William, Joseph Taylor Jr.'s son, William. The best part is that we're not doing this alone, so we ask, we don't mind having multiple people from the same branch, because all of these things are important for the families, especially those big ones. But we can, as an organization, we can provide you Zoom tools so you can meet online and through Zoom. Access to portions of the Taylor family database. Gordon mentioned it as a slice. The terms have been used before, slicers. That would be the same person, a legacy consultant. We also provide training and guidance to help you along the way. You will never be left alone to figure it out. This is a community of consultants and people working on each branch. And so we are very flexible. Requirement wise, we're looking for somebody who can maybe do 2 up to 8 hours or more. People work on it more than that too. To be a legacy consultant, we just ask for just a little bit of help with that. And we usually do have about 1 or 2 Zoom calls a year for any kind of training as a general group. If you've ever thought someone should write that down, then this is the calling for you in this position here. Okay, another one is our big reunion Christian mentioned earlier. We are confirming the date and the place currently right now, but we are making this this is a huge milestone in our family, and so we're making this a big deal. We are wanting to celebrate the descendants of William and Elizabeth Patrick Taylor, which is Joseph Jr.'s son, but all are welcome from any branch of Joseph. So it doesn't matter where you come from, but right now we're looking for help to help make this reunion great. We want you to share the information about this with your living relatives. Help us connect to cousins, our living cousins all over the world. Spread the word. We don't want anybody to be left out or not know about this. Somebody had mentioned they're just hearing about this organization. So definitely get the word out. And we're trying our best through social media. We were at Roots Tech just a few months ago. We're trying to get the word out. So definitely tell your family. Even if you only can help with just a few names and addresses or emails, that helps in every way. Even if you're not really big into genealogy, this is going to be for everybody. We want to include everybody through all different kinds of ways. So we're looking for help in all different ways. So if you can help with planning, organizing, we're looking for activities and game ideas to get those younger generations involved and to be there as well. People who care about making events special and meaningful, that's what we're looking for. So like I said, we're looking for this reunion to be for all ages and everyone from old to young. So definitely, if you can help and reach out to any one of us on the board. Okay. The other thing is the TFA newsletter. It is a quarterly project. I don't even know how to put it into words. But it comes out quarterly. And we're always looking for contributors to help with that. Any kind of short research articles. I'm trying to think of names. I'm sorry. people have contributed in the past, but if you've done any kind of research in any way and you'd like that to be shared with the family, we are welcome to do that in the newsletter. I'm looking for family stories, accomplishments like graduations, military accomplishments or services, awards, any kind of life milestone. I'd love to put all of those in the newsletter as well. If you even have something that you wouldn't believe this happened, I would love that too. Anything that our future tailors might be interested in reading about someday, that's where it can be put in the newsletter as well and shared with our living cousins today. Uh, you don't have to be a professional writer. I'm not a professional writer, although I'm a genealogist. But if you love family, that's all that matters, and we're happy to share any of that stuff. I'm happy to edit and help shape or polish up any kind of article or anything you have. But your voice matters, and especially for our younger generations. So why all of this matters? We have, sorry, I'm losing my papers here. In order, here we go. We want to preserve our family stories. It's isn't just about history. It's also about making sure that the stories from our past and our past generations, but also our current stories stay stay intact and don't disappear. Helping young people know where they come from, like Christian mentioned earlier, the younger generations need to connect. They need to know who they are, and they can only do that through learning the stories and the history of our family. And we need to keep our branches connected, turning our names from just charts to real people and real lives. That makes a difference, and it brings them to life. And family isn't something that just exists. It's about building togetherness and a unit. Anyways, sorry, I don't want to get emotional because it's just, I don't know. This is super important. If any of this sounds interesting to anybody, please feel free to reach out. Gordon, Mark, Nancy, myself, Christian, whoever. I sent, like I said, I sent out our contact emails. You're welcome to ask us questions, send us anything, share an idea, send a story, volunteer in some little aspect will all be helpful. You don't have to do everything. We like to spread the work as much as we can so no one feels overwhelmed. You just have to try to do something to keep it going and keep it alive. And together we can make our Taylor family story stay alive. So if you're ready to jump in, we just want everybody to not feel any pressure, super pressure or anything, or feel overwhelming in any way. We want you to know that there are many ways to get involved, and take ownership of our family. We have a strong family. We have a large family. Nancy mentioned, I think she said, I didn't catch the whole number, but it was over 300,000. That's just everybody in our tree. And those are a lot of deceased people, our ancestors, but also our current living. And Gordon mentioned about 40% is missing. So we have a lot of the foundational ancestors and our us, but we have the gap in between that we need to fix. So and finish up. So your help would be greatly appreciated. And we thank you very much for coming in and joining us today. That's all I have.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Just kind of to wrap everything up, we thank you so much for coming today and spending time with us. I hope that you guys got something out of this. That's always the goal, is either learning something or getting excited about family. We're all here because we are, we're connected some way, in some way, shape, or form. So just as a reminder, this recording will be available on YouTube after we've completed it. Once that has been posted on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed and got a notification of it, it will be posted on our social media platforms as well as the Taylor website. For those who are not members of those groups, you do not have to be a member to be on our social media. We have Facebook. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. The group, I believe, is Joseph Taylor Senior Family Association, I believe is what it's called. I believe Deborah has probably posted the link for that if she hasn't already. But those will be available as well as all of the slides. So thank you so much for coming and participating.
And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
Yes. Happy Mother's Day to all those mothers out there. We couldn't be here without you guys, so thank you so much. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your day, great rest of your weekend, and have a good Mother's Day weekend. Thank you so much for coming.